It's my privilege, my honor to be here presenting at such fine delegates at the 11th meeting of the World Potato Congress. And you know what? It's absolutely fantastic to do it in person. Finally, after a couple years. It's been a rough 2 years. So, this is what these things are for, and I very value it and have enjoyed the interaction and continue to do so. So it's great to see you guys in person. A lot of new people, but there's some extremely familiar faces out there, so it's great to see. As Nora introduced, I'm Bret Nedrow. I'm a director of global raw procurement for the JR Simplot company. I was born and raised on a seed potato farm in Idaho. That's where you could just say that I've got potato juice going through my veins and not blood, and that's probably actually true. But little potato guy went up to a little university up in northern Idaho called the University of Idaho, and I got my bachelor's degree. And while I was doing that, I happened to have the fortunate to be introduced to this gentleman, Joe Gunther. How many people in the room know Joe? At least half. Anyway, so I did my master's with him. Phenomenal gentleman, and I learned a lot from him. And 25 years later, I find myself on the stage talking to you. 22 of those years have been with the JR Simplot company. And like Nora talked about, I'm in charge, what do I do? I get asked that a lot of times, and I'm like, well, not a whole lot, but I can sum up in 5 points. Supply chain strategy, grower contract negotiations, raw and variety development, and potato sustainability. Coincidentally, all topics that are probably just been main points at these meetings. So it's been very valuable for me. Anyway, so like Nora said, I'm here to talk about the production and marketing of frozen fries in North America. So there are probably people out in the audience much more smarter than I am in there about talking about this, Cedric, and that's probably you. So he'll correct me if I say something wrong. Anyway, when you look at the potato sector in North America, you got 5 key components there. The first one being, our good old seed potatoes, near and dear to my heart. I grew up on a seed potato farm. Then we got the power of the potato. Is Blair in here? He said he was going to come in here and mock me, but oh well, that's okay. Anyway, the power of potato, we heard about how it is a very powerful vegetable, and so, the cartoon represents that. Then you got the dehydrated market up there. And then we got the potato chips. Good old potato chips, we love those comfort foods. And then something that's also near and dear to my heart is the frozen French fries, sector. So I'm going to talk about that, and I actually get a little bit of a royalty fee every time that I tell them that that's my favorite. So anyway, the rest of my presentation is going to be focused on the frozen sector. Okay, so in North America, again, we're about 1.3, just a little over 1.3 million acres in North America, Canada and the U.S. And I apologize, these are all in acres, but it's about 532,000 hectares total. The rest will be in acres. You can divide it by 2.5 and you get close enough. Okay, so where are potatoes grown? Philippe talked about potatoes can be grown anywhere in the world, right? They can be grown anywhere in North America, but where are the key areas? Well, first you've got the East Coast, the Maritime provinces. That's about 194,000 acres there. That represents about 15% of that 1.3 million. Then you go a little further west, we go over the upper Midwest there, as I call it, Halverson town. That's where they're out, Black Gold is. So got the Midwest, about 20%, a little bit more in there, 263 acres. Then you go to the big dog over in the Pacific Northwest, where you're sitting is just over 500,000 acres annually on that. That's about 44% of that resides in that Pacific Northwest area, Alberta, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And of that, so all those are just over 1 million acres. That's just about 80% of all North America potatoes are in those regions. So where's all the processing at? Anybody? Well, coincidentally, it just follows the same pattern. You've got processing over on the east side, we've got it in the center of North America, and then again in the Pacific Northwest. Okay, so that's where they're at. Well, now let's talk about the concentration of it. So when you look at it, we got processing all across there, and again, it follows the major growing areas, right? Well, you start over in the big dog in the Pacific Northwest. You got 18 factories over there, frozen French fry factories there. You got 7 in the Midwest, and you got 7 on the East Coast. The North American market is predominantly, it's a smaller player market. It's got a few companies in there. So someone like Lamb Weston has 11 factories, highly concentrated in the Pacific Northwest and just a little presence in the Midwest. You move to the J.R. Simplot company, who I work for, we're a little more diversified, but we've got 2 factories sitting over in the Midwest, and then we've got 3 over in the Pacific Northwest. You've got McCain, more evenly spread across the U.S. with 10 factories, and so they've got an East Coast, Central, and then a Pacific Northwest presence as well. And Cavendish at 4 factories are spread pretty similar to that in the sense that they've got two on Prince Edward Island, 1 in North Dakota, and then 1 over in Alberta. Excuse me, lost my train of thought for a second. And then, so you got those 4 big companies, and then you've got 3 independent ones that have a single factory. There's 2 over on the east, and then Kraft Heinz has the one over in Oregon next to the Idaho border. Okay, so shifting away from growing potatoes, how about, and processing them, how about the marketing of it? Well, when you look at the North America market, it is a 12 billion pound a year product. Can anybody visualize what 12 billion pounds of French fries look like? I can't. How many potatoes do you think it takes to make that? No, you're close. It depends. It's product mix, recoveries, and all of that one. But it's over 20 billion pounds of potatoes to get that 12 million out of there on that. So that's a lot. Can you visualize what 20 billion pounds of potatoes would look like? That's a lot. You got 3 main marketing sectors in there. You've got a smaller one, the retail one. And when I mean the retail, that's the one you go to the grocery stores and you get the frozen ones, you take them home and you prepare them for the kids and the family and the friends that come over, right? And then you're split up between 2. There's the food service market, and one aspect is the QSR. And for those of you who don't know, when I talk about the QSR, that's the McDonald's of the world, the Wendy's of the world, the Burger Kings of the world, the Jack in the Box, those type of restaurants. And then the other one is food service. Those are going to be your food service distributors. Like in North America, one of the largest ones is Sysco US Foods. They're the one that are supplying the product to the local independent stores. Okay, so I'm going to narrow it down and focus it on the U.S. market primarily because that's really the one that drives a lot of that one. Of that 12 billion, they're 10.5 billion pounds of that one. So it's really a close approximation of what happens in North America when you look at that big of volume. And again, when you look at that one, U.S. is a little bit less at a smaller retail footprint and a larger food service on that. So you're about 86% of that 10.5 billion is food service, and then 14 is retail. Okay, well, you look at it, so let's talk about the food service. There's 2 components. There's a commercial and a non-commercial. So, well, what the heck is commercial versus non-commercial, right? Okay, very simple. I had the marketing people explain to me. Commercial are the ones that's their primary business is food. It's the restaurants, okay? When you talk about non-commercial, those are the businesses that food is not their primary business. So a classic example, but food is a necessity of them doing business. Classic example is our conference, right? We're being served food, but that's not the primary purpose, right? It's assisted living centers, it's universities, it's conferences. That's the non-commercial aspect. Okay, no presentation in the recent history and the future and at this conference probably can't go without talking about COVID, right? Has anybody sat into a conference that probably hasn't mentioned it? Very few. But anyway, so here's my gratuitous pandemic slide. So what happened? 2019 came along, we were doing really good. That food service market was just its teas in that 9 billion pounds. And then pandemic, lockdowns. Cedric, right? I read your report faithfully every week, and thank you for that. That's good information. That market just dove down. It's like overnight when that happened, we've lost 11% of that almost 9 billion pounds. Good news, it's now shot back up. So we're coming out of it. And so we're seeing a gain. We're well above what we were before in 19. So that's good. But why? One of the big things is that a lot of the big driver, again, is the QSR market has shifted and they've simplified their menus. And I'll use McDonald's as an example. You used to be able to get apple dippers and Southwest chicken salads and all these other options, right? Well, because of either supply chain issues or availability of product, they simplified it. So what that did is more people now are getting more French fries. It's increased the movement of French fries. That's been some of it, and I think that's going to stay for a while. I think the businesses are seeing that it's bringing profitability increasing versus some of those options. Uber Eats and DoorDash has driven a lot of that one. So, we were all locked down, but you know what? The drive-thrus, the DoorDash, the Uber Eats, always busy. I couldn't go to a McDonald's if there wasn't the double lines in North America were full. Okay, promise, Nora, I got 2 slides left. Okay, so let's talk about, so we talked about the dip and the recovery. So menu penetration. Basically, this slide is just telling you how fries are showing up on the menu. So previously, we've kind of been flat. We had a little dip in 13 and 14. Anybody know maybe what happened there? Any marketers in the room? It was basically at that period of time, you saw growth of fast casual restaurants, and they didn't use a lot of French fries, processed French fries. So Five Guys is a back of the house fresh cut, right? So they didn't bring anything in, but that grew. Chipotle's is growing. There's no fries at Chipotle's. So those kind of restaurants drove that menu down, but we bounced back up. So this, and now what we're seeing through the pandemic and out of it is that this tells you that French fries are showing up on menus more. There's more fries showing up on the menus in there. And everything that's pointing is that we gained about a 1.6 points over time past the flat curve. And now we're expecting about 3.3 growth over 2 years, over the next 4 years, sorry. Incredible, that's good. People are really finding out that they still like French fries. They love French fries. Okay, last slide. I had to have someone walk me through this. Exactly what does this mean? At the end of the day, when you look at it, it was flat, 17, 18, 19, 20 in there. Focus on the blue, the little yellow sweet potatoes. And we're not gonna talk about those. But then you look at 21, it came up, and 22, it came up. What that does is it is showing that French fries are moving in restaurants faster than the traffic. So people are coming back, but there's ordering more fries than there are people coming through. Does that make sense? So it's growing, the instance of sales and everything of the French fries are going at a faster rate than the traffic's coming in. That's good, that's growth. So that's good. So, so North America's looking really good. It's strong. I think there's potatoes, we love them, they're a staple. They're a good food. I think when it comes to the fast food, it's all about a balanced diet, right? Don't eat it every day, but it can be part of our lifestyle. And I think it's gonna stay that way. And again, thank you very much for the presentation, and I'm just under a minute left. Have any questions?